Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. The very first item before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I would like to have a motion to allow Trustee Jamil to attend remotely. Moved by Trustee Kritzmeyer, seconded by? Trustee O'Reilly, seconded by Trustee Borowski, sorry. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
Aye.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor.
Aye.
Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Okay, Trustee Jamil, welcome to the meeting. You're in. All rise for Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, as Vic was saying, the last time we were together, it was really nice out in the 60s. I don't know what happened, but the weather changed, and now it's suddenly winter. So we're all wearing coats and bundling up. What'd you say? I was getting used to this nice weather. So the very first item on the agenda is the homeowners associations. I do not see Rich Tourette here from the Indian Creek Club, nor do I see online. Anyone from Bridlewood here?
They've actually asked to come to a meeting in February, so we'll put them on the agenda again.
Okay, so no HOAs here today. Okay, we are ready for public comment, both online and in person. Yes, please.
Bruce Meyer. I just wanted to say to Dana McCarthy and with the support of the board, thank you very much for your diligent follow-up. I have a fence.
Wow.
And the boy will burn his cut.
Good.
But we may have opened a Pandora's box because I've heard from neighbors to the west say, well, how come my back wasn't cut? I said, because I complained. And you keep showing up and using your time. Thank you for honoring us.
Well, and then thank you for coming in here and thanking us.
And the only thing else on the agenda is even Dana will admit, even the landscaper said, they came out with a crew with all kinds of weed whackers, because even the landscaper said, it's too steep to mow. And of course, it's not according to code, and it's just unnecessary. It needs to come down.
Yeah, we'll continue to look into, what we can do with that, find out what the village can actually make them do. And also in the spring, they also, promised that they were gonna spray and everything to prevent, next year what happened. And you tell your neighbors, just an issue, they can get in touch with me, I'll reach out, on their behalf.
Really just 2 years.
Well, I was in here for 2 years, so.
Yeah.
You did the final follow-up, and I thank you all very much.
All right, thank you for the comment. Benjamin, you were next, yeah?
I met with Matthew at 4369 Oak Leaf Lane, in the Oak Leaf Homeowners Association. I want to dovetail on you. I also want to thank you, Mr. McCarthy, for following up on the tree across the street. I mean, at least the branches are off. I mean, the tree is still there, but hey, I'll take something. And hopefully they can do something on 22 and 53 with those shoulders, but I know that's kind of a good thing. But my comment specifically is I have a question to whoever would handle this. Does the folks at 4359 get their public access permit from IDOT? Because it's my understanding, looking at the village board meeting minutes today, that they did submit something to the village planner. And my question is, if as part of the village engineer's study, they need to get some kind of access permit from IDOT, because I guess they have to put in two, an entrance and an exit due to the regulations. So that's just my question, whether they did that or not.
I mean, I would see it's a question really for Taylor, whose last day was today, or is Supervisor Amanda. So we can ask her. I mean, if it's something they need from IDOT, it wouldn't be in the villages, but I don't know if the planning.
It's not complete yet. Their application's not yet
So
complete.
the application isn't complete, but in that, what they would bring to the PZBA, when the PZBA asks them about the other things they need to get, or would they basically leave that alone? is the question, and leave it to the homeowners to kind of deal with. Do we know?
Say that again.
The question is, if planning would even be looking at what he's asking about, because you're asking about them needing a permit from Lake County, right?
No, from IDOT, because it's one of the requirements from the GHA folks, when they send them a letter, or whatever, the communication among yourselves. And from, GHA, they said, hey,
I think so,
one of
yeah.
the requirements to move forward is you need to get a public access permit from IDOT.
I'll talk to Amanda tomorrow about it.
Okay.
But I might note that in all of our zoning approvals, we have as a condition that they meet the requirements for all other governmental approvals.
That's what I was asking.
So, you know, that's something that while the village may go forward with its review, that is not the be-all and end-all for development of any nature within the village to move forward. It still requires every other permit that might be required, whether it's from the Corps of Engineer, whether it's from Lake County, whether it's from IDOT or some other entity.
So for the sake of argument, if they don't get their IDOT permit, which is a requirement, then they can't move forward with whatever else.
Correct. Our approval is always gonna be contingent on compliance with all other,
Perhaps our
requirements.
engineer can opine as well.
My understanding is they've contacted IDOT and they're in discussions, so, haven't heard that they have it, haven't heard that they don't, but, my guess is they do not have it.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Go ahead, Gene. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, yep.
I apologize. Ed Maher, 4361 Illinois Route 22, which is also Oakley Lane. We're the next door neighbor to that same property that's applying for the special use permit to build an Indian temple or to start with a parking lot and then morph that into a temple with all that comes with it. We have, approached the board multiple times. I've talked with Dana and others, trying to get information on this since we are the most impacted neighbors. We've lived there 25 years. We have a group of other neighbors that are close by adjoining these properties that have multi-million-dollar homes and all the rest of that. We've found it very hard to get information, particularly from Mr. Waisgren, who I guess understand is his last day today. In any case, we had to resort to a Freedom of Information Act request, and for all of the communications related to this between all of the trustees and principals of the village and all the rest, and we've been sorting through that over the last couple of months, and gleaned a lot of information about really what's gone on. And it's become pretty clear that Jeff and Mr. Filippini have had a lot of input on this with the applicant, and that there are a number of significant issues that need to be addressed as part of this special use permit application. I took the time to put together a spreadsheet to list the various things, and I'd like to have that in the record. There's a copy for everybody. And I guess the question is, I was expecting Mr. Waisgren to be here today. I had asked him, emailed him on Friday if I could get a copy of this resubmitted application that was in the package for tonight, and his response to me was, no. And I said, why is that? And he said, well, it's a draft. And I said, well, can I get a copy of the draft? And he said, no. So, I mean, that's the level of service that's been coming from him. And as a resident who's been paying taxes, I own 2 homes in Long Grove. I used to own a property as well, and actually my property abutted this particular property from the south. It's a gorgeous property that these people have, and most of it is really not buildable anyways. I'm not sure where this process is going, but it has been languishing for a long time, and I believe it's been furthered by people that really have kind of given the applicants the feeling that something really can come out of this without too much effort on their part. So we're really hoping that, given the amount of effort and expense that myself and some of the other neighbors have gone through, the amount of time that the trustees have invested in this, personnel from the village, costs in outsourced costs from the village for attorneys and engineering and all the rest of this, that we can get to some point where we either make these people, submit the full request or rescind it. Because in the meantime, it's just a weight on all of us. So I hope that whoever is answering for Mr. Waisgren tonight will be able to shed some light on it. Thank you.
Just as a point of information, the village has no ability to say you can't apply. It is our obligation to, it's in the First Amendment of the Constitution, US, and we have a parallel provision in the, state constitution that people have the right to petition government. We happen to be the zoning authority, and anybody can petition the village for anything. That doesn't mean that they'll be granted what they request, but they always have the right to ask, and we can't stop them from that. What has been happening with that particular application, at least insofar as I'm aware, is that they made an initial submittal. It was inadequate in terms of the requirements of our code, and we were advising them to review the code, and if they want to move forward, resubmit. I have not yet seen the materials that they've resubmitted, but I understand that they have, and that's the status right now. Before that will go anywhere, it will need to have a public notice and a public hearing, which will invite, any of the interested members of the public to be there and to share their concerns. That will result in a recommendation from the Plan Commission, again, assuming that they submit a full and complete application, and then it will come to the village board for consideration. So that's the process. And again, where I understand we are is if they have made a resubmittal, I don't know whether that resubmittal is complete or substantially complete, so it might move forward. That's something that's under review by the planning staff in on the line, which serves the village.
Vic, can you please clarify, that public hearing and meeting will be in front of the planning commission?
That'll be before the Plan Commission, Zoning Board of
Planning
Appeals.
Commission, who then makes evaluates against code, and then makes a recommendation, then we see it. So we don't discuss it until it goes through that process. Is that accurate, Vic?
Right, again, one of the things is because of the nature of the zoning process, this board, really is not the hearing body or the fact-finding body. It rather waits for the recommendation of the PCZBA, or Plan Commission, and then it considers it. So, I will say on behalf of the board, if I may, that if you want to share information with them, the best way to do it is through the Plan Commission, not through direct entreaties to any of the board members, because they will likely not respond to you because it's not time for that.
Why was it on your agenda tonight?
It's not a,
It's a planning commission report.
that's a report, that's not an action item.
It says resubmittal of the applicant.
It does report that there's been a resubmittal. That's not for a conversation.
The item on the agenda is the planning report comes in front of us as information, not that we chew on it.
Could you remind everybody what the notification timing is?
There will be a published notice. It'll be at least 15 days and not more than 30 days before the hearing. Those notices are customarily posted here at the Village Hall and on the website, and for residents within a certain distance, and forgive me that I don't remember the exact distance, I think it's 250 feet, they will also get mailed notice of the same information.
But there's no 2 days.
No, it's not like, we wake up in the morning and, yeah.
That it was 2 days.
It's a Wednesday, why don't we have a hearing? It's not, it's not like that at all. It is, 15 to 30 days.
Yeah, when would the possibility of it getting on an agenda, assuming it was complete, would be sometime next year?
The nearest date, unless there were a special meeting, would be in 2024.
In 2024, at this point,
For the planning commission.
to get before the Plan Commission. Yeah. Most likely, so. I can't imagine it being accelerated, but. Does that answer the questions? Yes, thank you. Thanks for being here. Jean?
I wrote some notes. It's been a heck of a week, so apologize for reading. My name is Jean Sylvester. I'm the chair of the Architectural Commission and the Historic Preservation Commission for the Village of Long Grove. Presently work, I also didn't say. I work professionally full-time as a historic preservation consultant and architectural historian, and I meet the criteria for professional qualification standards under the National Park Service for History and Architectural History. This might come as a surprise to some of you, but what is now known as Historic Long Grove was created essentially as a brand in the 1970s through careful and creative efforts of leading Long Grove citizens and the then Village Board of Trustees. We sought to create a historic village. The building we're in right now was part of that process when the Historical Society was created to accept the donation of Drexler Tavern next door, move it to the present site, and build an addition to that of this very meeting room called the Meeting Hall between 1976 and 1977. Robert Parker Coffin, who was not only village president and village trustee, but an architect, oversaw the rehabilitation of the tavern building and designed the addition of this meeting hall. Archer School was moved here in 1977, and Ruth Farm was moved here in 1980. It occurred simultaneously with similar work in the downtown area, then known as the Crossroads, and they were all part of a comprehensive municipal effort to plan and create what is now known as Historic Long Grove. All of these buildings, I believe, are historic, including the building we're in tonight, not because of their age, but because of their role in this municipal planning effort. And as a result, many of these buildings and those in the downtown business district, I believe, might be eligible for listing on the National Register, particularly as a cohesive whole municipal planning effort to create a historic village. To be eligible for listing on the National Register, a building must be 50 years or older, or in this case, move to the present location within 50 years. We're not quite there yet, but we are very close. My point in bringing all this up is to ask each of you to look at these buildings a little differently. The historic nature of this area in Long Grove is not the 19th century. It is the 1970s, 50s through the 90s, mid-century. I believe moving the Ruth Barn will have an adverse impact on the eligibility of this, what I call municipal campus property for inclusion on the National Register. While I personally believe that the new village hall should be located in a different location, it must be noted that nothing in the federal or state standards precludes building an addition to any historic building. Additions can be planned to meet National Park Service Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. I consulted with the SHPO on the proposed moving of these buildings and the design for the proposed addition. SHPO reviewing architect gave me detailed suggestions, which I shared and discussed with the architects of the projects who I believe are here this evening. Long Grove Historical Society has an archive of material on these buildings that could be used for consultation during this project. The Architectural Commission met and discussed the design, and the village planner, I believe, conveyed our recommendations to the architect, which I'm happy to discuss in detail when the topic comes up for discussion later this evening. Again, changes are allowed to be made to historic buildings, but those changes should be consistent with Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. I'm delighted to hear that the village engineer will be consulting with SHPO on this project. Going forward, I hope the village board will support my request to perform a historic and architectural survey of the village's historic buildings so that we can anticipate, prepare for, and appropriately respond to requests for proposed changes, and to prepare National Register nominations for buildings throughout the village to access historic preservation tax, grant, and other financial incentives. I urge you to look to the examples of the previous village board and leading citizens like Robert Parker and Betty Coffin, Barbara Reed Turner, and many others who planned for and created this historic village, and neighboring communities today that have embraced historic preservation as a planning tool to preserve their historic buildings while taking advantage of financial incentives and planning for their future.
Thanks for your comments.
Jean, is that something you could send so that could be verbatim distributed to all of us?
Yes, thank you.
And I think, some of what we're talking about, doing and, as far as, looking at the buildings throughout the whole village, in historical significance and being able to, get on the registry, we were looking to do that in Q1 when we have our new village manager in place, not right now where we're very short-staffed, right? As you probably know, we are very short-staffed. So hopefully we can pick some of those things up after the beginning of the year.
We have a request when we called also for requests from the trustees for projects to consider discussing for next year's budget. That survey of historic buildings was one of the projects.
Got it. Good. All right, thank you for that. Any other public comment in the room or online? If not, public safety report. Keith?
Good evening. Since the last board meeting, we had an incident that happened, downtown. Literally, a woman was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and, she was carjacked. Suspect was arrested fairly rapidly after the incident occurred. I just wanted to say that I appreciate the communication with the village and us being able to work together with the sheriff's office so that we were able to get that notification of the residents, that's all I have. If anybody has any questions about
I
it.
had a weird question. I sang in a choir down in Wilmette, and that Sunday night, they mentioned there was a carjacking in Winnetka also that day. Are they related, or just
I don't think
incidental?
they're related.
It was one guy, right, and they caught him, that was it. Yeah.
Don't know
But
who
It was 11:28 in the morning.
Yeah, I don't, they didn't give a time on the Winnetka
Yeah.
one, but.
It's just a
Weird.
common theme that's happening time after time from Milwaukee to Chicago.
He's a Long Grove resident too, just unbelievable. And who would have thought at the Mel's Marathon, right?
Wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah,
There's really not much that she could have done to change the situation.
right. Thank you for catching the guy, so appreciate it. Any other comments? If not, or any other items, public safety items? No. So I guess we'll continue to the consent agenda. We have a few items here. Approval of the October 2023 Treasurers Report, approval of the special board meeting minutes on November 16th, approval of the meeting minutes, the regular meeting minutes from the November 16th board meeting, approval of the resolution extending the landscaping contract with Milu, if I said their name right, approval of a resolution for renewal of the health insurance policy proposed by J. Krug and Associates, a resolution approving the liability insurance renewal proposal submitted by Stolarick and Company, Inc., and approval and ordinance for disposal of surplus property. Anyone,
Comment? No, the treasurer's report has been updated.
thank you.
There was an accounting error, and so what we should approve is the corrected one, which showed up.
Also, the packet, were you able to, put that in the packet, the updated resolution on the health stuff
Just for one,
from this afternoon?
I don't think I got that.
Okay, may I suggest that we make an amendment to the resolution on the health? The original resolution that was in the packet only referenced the Blue Cross Blue Shield. The materials in your, packet included the Delta Dental, plans for dental and for vision. So I had sent, it was mid to late afternoon, an updated, resolution. All it does is, add the reference to those other two plans. So if you would consider that as your approval resolution on, number 9.
9, yeah.
9, that would be my recommendation.
Can you send it again, because it didn't show up?
Yeah,
But that's the only change.
that was the only change. It was
but-
just to round out the materials that were
And-
included in the packet.
And for those of you that did look at the treasurer's report, what got inversed was the Illinois income tax was in the Illinois sales tax line, and it looked wrong, so they just flip-flopped them, so the dollar amounts are the same.
Exactly that. There was a weird correction in an odd place that,
That prompted that?
it was like the sales tax went in, and then there was a correction to back it out. And then you see a negative number because we have to allocate part of that sales tax over for the, Sunset Grove bond every month.
Got it,
So that's how, that was the negative amount, was the amount that needs to go over every month.
got it. Okay, well, thanks for explaining. I just looked at it, I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
it went in, and then it went out, and then the other things that should go out went out.
So what you have before you is correct, so. All right, anyone want to make a motion to approve?
The exact minutes were in here either. After the special board meeting, we put into that.
Yeah, I have a note that we need to have them. They weren't in the packet, though.
Okay,
So we'll just have them for the next meeting.
okay.
Okay, so the executive board minutes are not in here.
They're not. The special meeting is just the brief minutes before and after we went into exec.
Okay, got it, all right. So, somebody want to make a motion to approve? Okay, moved by trustee Kritzmeyer, seconded by trustee O'Reilly, roll call.
Trustee Kritzmeyer? Aye. Trustee O'Reilly? Aye. Trustee Borowski?
Aye.
Trustee Jamil?
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor? Trustee Tanucci?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Now the moment you've been waiting for. most exciting thing of the night, the presentation and acceptance of the 2023 Village of Longville audit by Sickich LLP. You're presenting that tonight, right?
Are you gonna help drive, Bill?
I'm gonna help drive. This is, nothing gets any better than this. It's a good audit, and there's a lot of work that went into it, so thank you. Let me share my screen if I can. Go back to Zoom. Where is more? Where's my share button? I haven't done.
Are these handouts verbatim?
The green one.
They're in the package?
Where's it?
No, it's different than information. This is the whole audit report.
Oh, there it is.
Some financial information.
Can you all see that, in the room and online? Dr. Jamil, trustee Jamil, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, good. I can hear you too. All right,
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Sawicki. I'm a director with Sickich. We're the auditors for the.
you may want to come up a little closer because you're a little quiet, or speak louder. All right.
So my name is Tom Sawicki. I'm a director with Sickich. We're the auditors for the village's April 30th, 2023 fiscal year-end audit. So thank you for giving me a few minutes tonight to go through the audit results. Thank you, Art and Ann, for your help during the audit process too, as well as Debbie, and Dana, and everyone who was involved in getting us the information we needed. Tonight, there's 3 reports you should have received. The largest is the annual financial report or the audit report. We also have the TIP report and our auditor's communication with the board. I also have a PowerPoint. I'll jump in here in a second, but I first want to start with the audit report, just to point out a few different pieces of information in this report here. So if you want to follow along, I'm going to go through it. Page 1 of the audit report is referred to as the independent auditor's report. This is where we issue our opinion on the financial statements. This is the report we issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. This is also known as a clean audit opinion. It's the highest level of assurance you can provide to financial institution material statements. Congratulations on that. The rest of the section really is talking about our responsibilities as auditors, managers' responsibilities for financial statements, things like that. If you flip past that, the next section after the independent audit report, beginning on MD&A page 1. This is the biggest change to your report this year is the management discussion and analysis section. So just as the name describes, management discusses and analyzes the financial statements. This is very useful information for you to read through. I always suggest, if you don't read anything else in detail in the audit report, I highly encourage you to read through the MD&A section. This does a really nice job of taking not only the current year information, which is in the rest of the report, but also compares to the prior year. And it provides explanations for why some of the numbers may have changed from the prior year. So really good context. The rest of the report is just kind of the information as of the end of the fiscal year or what happened during the fiscal year, but this adds some additional context to those numbers.
Can I have a comment? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just gonna say, this is the first year, you might wanna.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, sure, yeah.
This is the first year we've done this. This is our responsibility. We were assisted greatly by Sickich. They helped us with some formats, templates we could borrow from a few other people, and then customize it to ourselves. I think it's pretty wordy, which means it's pretty thorough. Might maybe tighten up, if there's the Mark Twain. I didn't have time to write a 2-page thing, so I wrote 10. But it is the first time we've done this, which is also means the first time we got a really squeaky clean letter from the auditor, because we have this now. It didn't prevent us in prior years from getting a clean letter, but it is now complete.
There was always language in the prior report saying that this section was omitted from the audit report, but this year that you have it in there. I'm glad you guys put it in there now. This year it's really good information, and like I said, I highly encourage you to read through this section as it provides a lot of good detailed information on why that changed from the prior year.
And kudos to Art and Dana and Sickich for a lot of this.
So I won't go into that in detail, but if you flip right past that, I'm just going to point out where some information lies in the audit report. So past the MD&A section, on page 4 is the statement of net position. This is essentially your balance sheet for your entity-wide statements. Basically, the only difference on here is really it presents all through the long-term activities, so capital assets and long-term debt. And then if you go to the next page, pages 5 and 6, is your statement of activities, basically your income statement for your energy-wide schedules. At the end of the year, governmental activities had an increase to that position of about $2.9 million. Business type had a decrease of about $156,000. Flipping to pages 10 and 11, I'll get to a little more of the financial numbers in the PowerPoint, but this is essentially the income statement for the governmental funds. It's broken out by individual major funds in each column, and then one aggregate non-major fund, or column there in the right-hand side. At the end of the year, total governmental funds had $11.6 million in fund balance. That was an increase of about $2.1 million. Page 14, statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in that position for your enterprise fund.
That's the water fund.
That's your water fund. And one item to point out there right in the middle of the schedule, the operating income loss number had a loss of about $221,000. Basically what that means is that the charges the fund is charging to users for water is not recouping the operating costs that are being incurred. So it's just going to point out, it's been happening for the past number of years, just to look into that to see how you could possibly address that going forward, whether that's more users, higher rates, whatever it may be, to kind of make sure that.
If you look a couple lines above, you can see most of that's being driven by for depreciation, but depreciation is, the intention is, you should save so that you can replace this stuff later.
Yeah, I mean, our water fund's been underwater for a while, so we understand that. And, you know, maybe Lake Michigan will help us there too, so, we'll see.
Beginning on page 19, are just some notes to your financial statements. Won't go through these in really any detail, just note over there to provide additional context, supplement the financial information, some detailed information on capital assets, long-term debt, your IMRF pension plan, things like that. One more schedule to point out in the audit report here is on pages 47 and 48. So this is the schedule of changes in the employer's net pension liability for the IMRF pension plan. So at the end of 22, there was a net pension liability for the village of about $713,000. That was an increase from last year of about $195,000. But as you see on the next page, that represents a 75% funded status. The IMRF plan is one of the best funded funded plans in the state. So generally no concern there at all with that pension plan. Really a lot of that is driven based on the market conditions. So in calendar year 22, the market was down. We actually had net investment loss on the investments in that plan. And if the actuary assumes, you know, a 7.25% return on the investments, if you have a loss on investments, obviously it's going to fluctuate that pension liability at the end of the year. So in 23, as the market comes back, that pension liability should go back down a bit. So.
Ask a question on that, and I probably shouldn't bring this up for discussion, but if an employee leaves us, how does our pension liability apply, right? Is it only during the time that they were here, or how does that work?
Yeah, so, the number here is basically just an actuarial assumption. It's an estimated liability, net present value of what the future expected benefit payments are for current employees and the current retirees.
Okay.
That's going to be paid out, that currently isn't funded by what's in the plan itself. So there's investments in there. They assume they're going to grow by a certain percentage over a number of years, and they assume they're going to have a certain number of people that are going to be paid out upon retirement and earn those benefits. So a lot of that number really is quite a significant estimate, really, at the end of the day. So it's based on a number of factors that the actuary has assumptions for. So it's not really like a hard number, like $713,000. You have to cut a check for that to employees at this point in time. It's really just saying, as of the end of the measurement period for IMRF, that's what their estimated liability is based on the investments in the plan and what they perceive will be the expected benefit payments for participants in the plan.
We have pretty much no control over these numbers whatsoever. unless we just wanna hire a bunch of part-time people who aren't covered. That would be the only thing we could do to control this, I think.
Yeah, I
That
just
is
don't,
not-
I just don't
that's not
understand how
what
it's calculated, so I'm just like, okay, whatever, it is what it is. Okay. All right,
All right, those are the high level items I want to touch on the audit report, and then quickly can run through the PowerPoint here. Really what this PowerPoint is centered on is just the general fund, the main operating fund, for the village. Just going to flip to, the first slide here. What this represents is, a detailed version of your fund balance in the general fund. Now, the fund balance in the general fund has two different definitions: non-spendable, which is related to the advance to the general TIF fund, and then unassigned, which is unrestricted, it can be spent on any purpose. So the bottom down there is more trend information. You kind of see how those have flipped over the number of years here. So in 22 and 23, the unassigned portion of the fund balance has really increased. That's really a result of the increase in the fund balance overall in the general fund over the past couple of years.
any questions?
So then this takes a look at your unassigned fund balance. On the right side is the current year information. You had $6.6 million in unassigned fund balance in the general fund. Compare that to your expenditures that you incurred this year in the general fund, about $2.8 million. That comes up with a ratio of 234%. Really what that means is you have essentially, I think it was 28 months worth of expenditures essentially at the end of 23. The graph down at the bottom just says, or kind of plots out how that's looked over time, but then that bottom line shows what GFOA recommends as a minimum fund balance to have in this fund, which is really 2 to 3 months of expenditures on hand. Now, you have to take into account other factors as well. They're listed down there at the bottom, but things like how volatile are your expenditures, how consistent are your revenues that you're earning, things like that. Does the general fund support other funds as well? And just kind of have a look at, you know, what the fund balance in the general fund essentially going forward. So it's just good to see kind of how the fund balance is trending over time and what you may want to plan to use those unassigned fund balances for. This slide just kind of goes through what the revenues in the general fund have been over the last 10 years. You can kind of see the last couple of years, they've really shot up, and really that's a function of the increase in your taxes. Income and sales tax specifically have increased a lot over the last couple of years. You can see that really more in line with the 2015 through 17 amounts now, $4.3 million in FY '23.
Keep going.
Yep. And if you're a visual learner, this may help kind of you understand the numbers a little bit better. And I think actually, did you update this presentation with the slides that Ann had sent over?
Oh, I could say, I took these and put them in stacked bars, because I find
Yeah.
that easier to deal with mentally, but.
Okay.
But what it shows is revenue, it kind of follows the top line, but it basically shows revenue increasing over the last 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. If you go to the next slide, then you can see the expenditures then as well. So you'll note that expenditures have come down over the last 5 years in comparison to the previous years. A lot of that has to do with the fact that the capital outlay portion of those expenditures are now within the capital improvements fund and no longer really coming out of the general fund itself. But really what this means is that your revenues are going back up, your expenditures are still staying at kind of a lower level, which is why your fund balance continues to increase in the general fund.
That makes sense to everybody?
Just another visual here on the same information. You can kind of see what each of the various functions have looked like over time. The large spike that goes back down, that's that capital outlay I was referring to, that's now in the capital improvement fund, so it's no longer in your general fund. As I was mentioning, this just breaks out the tax revenue in the general fund. So how much is made up of that number for the various taxes that are earned by the village. As you can see, the sales and income taxes really increased over the last 5 or so years, which is a big driver of why those revenues have increased.
What's the question on the income tax? Is that gonna stay? What do you think?
don't know, you know, Fitch and Moody's have upgraded Illinois, so it's looking like a better place to be, but I don't know. So part of that, when we forecast out for our budgets, Illinois Municipal League does a whole lot of research behind that, and they don't forecast a drop. It's a little more flat, but they don't forecast a drop.
Interesting. It does help, our population's up a little bit too, so, you know,
Exactly.
does help some, so. All right.
On the last two slides here, just are related to the TIF, the downtown TIF, just a presentation on the advances from the general and open spaces funds to the TIF. See those increased over the past several years, but are starting to come back down a little bit. If you go to the next slide, you can see that that's a result of the TIF fund itself, having consistent incremental revenues coming in there, but the expenditures decreasing a bit over the last couple of years. So fund balance is starting to creep back up a little bit, allowing it to pay back those advances a little bit now, over the past couple of years.
Would you mind if everybody went to the TIF report? It's a separate one, page 4.
Do you want me to stop sharing this? Is that okay?
This is a crisscross here, but what you can see, dovetail on that, revenues are going up in terms of tax increments. I'll wait till everybody gets there.
Which,
So you're on the one that says TIF.
So it's the last page, right?
It is, the last page.
which document? Oh, the one that's cleverly labeled that. Okay. Thank you.
I'll just add while you're looking for it, that everything is, for the audience, everything is on the website, that's been presented tonight, so if there's any questions about anything that was talked about that wasn't on the screen, they can reference it there.
Oh, perfect, thank you. I just wanted to point out, so if you look at this is the basically revenues, expenditures, and changes in balance, so it's kind of giving more of the background detail on the numbers that Tom just talked about.
Yeah, the revenues and expenditures of this.
So the tax increment is going up, and that's basically, we're fortunate that the property taxes or the properties in there are appreciating. The sales tax, so sales taxes overall in the district have gone up. Revenues are now over $1 million. We have not put any capital projects in that TIF in a number of years, a couple of years. So some of these things are basically, you know, we have to, pay for administration and bond payment and lawyers and accountants. So that's what you see in terms of general government. Principal on long-term debt, that's the outside bonds. Other interest and on advances, that's the stuff we refinance. So what's happening is we've refinanced the bonds that are held by outside third parties, and we refinance the bonds that are really characterized in accounting language as advances from the open space fund and the general fund. What this is telling us is the TIF is now generating enough revenue to pay back, number one, the outside bonds that have to, and number two, the open space fund and the general fund in the schedule that we refinanced about a year ago. TIF district made payments the very last day, April 30th of this fiscal year, and is scheduled to do so again. The schedule calls for it to be paid this coming Friday, December 1st. So that's a good thing. A, the TIF district is now performing. B, you see that refinancing, the interest paid is not nearly as onerous. And C, through refinancing, that means that open space fund and general fund are both getting paid back. By the way, the sequence is the open space fund must be paid first. We can't pay the general fund at all until open space fund is current. So December 1st, we'll do open space, then general.
Well, which means though, the general fund's getting about $400,000 a year back into it.
It can afford now we're paying on the schedule that we decided on, or that was passed in ordinance. Should we wish to, we can, bring before the board authorizing making additional payments.
But that money then now is available, so it's an addition.
So when it goes to open space fund, it needs to be used for open space purposes. When it goes to general fund, it can be
Right.
used for anything.
Right. That's great news.
Thanks, I'm sorry. There's a question on that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Those are like some of the high-level items I wanted to touch base on the reports that were issued and some of the financial information of the general fund. Did anybody have any questions for me this evening?
Thank you for coming in person.
Oh, sure, yeah, no.
How about a big thank you, to basically village staff, trustee Kritzmeyer, for all your hard work on this? Well done.
And I could add, Trustee Kritzmeyer is the impetus behind the trends. Because it's really hard to look through all these numbers and stuff, and when you see them in a graph, I think it's a lot easier and it helps
Yeah.
bring the points home, so thanks to that.
Yeah,
I'm
and
very-
just to reiterate that section, the MD&A section, really does do a better job of, explaining some of these numbers in the report if you choose to do that.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Tom.
All right.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Yep. Okay, we do not have a village planner's report. There's nothing that you want to share or anything?
No, unless, have any questions, I think, Amanda's on.
Amanda, is there anything you want to share with us, if you're here? I guess the answer is no.
Will we be working with Amanda more now?
Yes, she will be our rep until they get a new person on board, and then even still, after she depends on who they get and how she's gonna move people to different location, different duties. So for now, I think it's Amanda. She's our contact. I'm sorry?
What happened to Taylor?
He went to work for Greg.
Greg Jackson took him. Yeah, yeah. All right, let's keep moving. The village engineers report. That would be you.
That was one hell of a round.
He was thinking about Greg. He was thinking of Greg, I don't know why.
Thinking about that. Yeah, right. Just all around the golf place. All right, engineer's report is in the board packet. Things to highlight, briefly here. The counter subdivision, drainage improvements on Osage Road, those are substantially complete.
Can I ask a question? So it looks great, by the way, so amazingly it got done. The ditch gets really shallow on the other side of the pipe. That's not gonna be a problem as the water goes downhill, is it?
No.
Okay,
No, we looked at that.
all right.
Thank you for making that happen.
Yeah, it was,
Not the ditch, not the ditch pit,
yeah,
but
the whole project, yeah, it was very fast tracked. We are still waiting for the final grant agreement from Lake County Stormwater for that, but, I've been in contact with them, so, don't see any issues on that. The road program is also substantially complete, just a few punch list items and site cleanup left on that. Not on the engineer's report, but number 5, the Checker Road traffic calming. A few months ago, the village board authorized putting the temporary speed tables up until Thanksgiving, and we're a week after Thanksgiving, Ely Township is scheduled to remove those next week. On the fifth. Just as an update on that. Village Hall expansion, I'll yield to the next discussion on that. Arlington Heights Road, just as an update, the project bidding has been delayed from November to February on that. There's still time to get contracts executed for an April start, so the construction timing isn't changing, it's just the bidding of that from the county. And those are the highlights of the updates. If there's any questions, I think to take those.
what will be the communications on the Arlington Heights Road stuff when this is?
Same process, the county would follow with the applicant's road, they have their normal construction notice that goes out.
Okay, because they're really changing the configuration of how people get to McDonald's, and that's
Yes,
gonna
they
mess
are.
a bunch of people up.
Yes, they are. We'll make sure that, we get a copy of that and share it with the village board, we can push it out to residents as well.
All funnels ready to McDonald's now?
You can't turn left in there.
Yep.
Once you, and that'll be the same with they call it the Michelle.
Yeah.
But you won't be able to turn, yeah, they call it, but you won't be able to turn left.
Yeah, you gotta turn right, make that U-turn, and, yeah, exactly.
Or go through the neighborhood.
Oh, you.
Yes, that's, yes.
Remember what the name of that road is, but.
Or you'll be turning in and, I don't know, buying a door clothes or something.
Hey, Jeff, I have a question for you. You know, at the last meeting, trustee O'Reilly asked about a diagonal path to get into Archer Lot, and I looked at it, that's not our property. Or is it?
We're taking a look at that.
Okay.
The holidays, we just haven't.
Okay.
got back into that.
This one asked, but I think it's the, Dr. Levin owns those properties where it would cut through, but I'm not sure. I looked at GIS mapping.
I haven't talked to him. Who's his back?
Just ask him, yeah, temporarily, can we just do it, right? All right, but anyways, I just want to thank you for looking into that, so, okay. All right, any other questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
In, part of the packet, it has a project manual for the, renovation or whatever, and when I clicked on it, it went through about 4 or 5 pages, and then it just had headers and footers. So once I clicked on, the site, and I started going through it, it went through the whole process of obtaining bids, and then there's nothing, which is header and footer every page.
Is this the project manual for the roof barn?
Yep.
Okay, and that, I believe, is yours, the, what, 700-page document?
704. I was just kind of curious, I was gonna glance
What's that?
through it.
Not for the roof barn.
Or not the roof barn, the village hall expansion.
And I was just kind of curious, like, but there's nothing after the whole thing about putting out for bids, there's just headers and footers.
I'm looking at one that's got a lot of words.
How far did you, I mean, I went through,
I'm on page 32.
oh, okay, I don't know what happened then. It's not coming
There's a
up.
number of pages in between. There are ones that, I assume just the way it's formatted, but I'm going through it now on the website and,
You're seeing the same thing I was.
no, I'm going through and I'm seeing, I mean, I'm on page, what page are you speaking of the?
It was right after the.
You needed to stay persistent, Jane.
Yeah, I'm on
Okay,
page
thank you.
217.
You're probably there then. Okay, thank you.
Is this like a Verizon commercial or something, the data network's
You know
out
what,
there?
the technology near me that screws up, so it's okay.
All right,
I
thank you.
tried.
All right, so, let's move on to the next topic, which is discussion of the Village Hall renovation specifications and architectural committee suggestions. Who's leading that discussion? Matt, you're doing that? Matt, you didn't know you were doing that?
I'm doing it. So, you know, I guess we'll see where this conversation would I would say at the very least, the background on this has continued to evolve, even since our last meeting. Obviously, at the last meeting, you know, the discussions about the architectural review committee, taking a look at the current plans. Since that time, Dean Sylvester has had multiple conversations with John Kowski from our office, you know, about the research of the existing building that's been ongoing. So when the plan review commission met, I believe beginning of last week, they did present 7 items for consideration of the board in terms of the various
Yeah, I wanted to
cosmetics
put those.
and you know, other architectural review thoughts and comments about the proposed plans, and we did put together some responses to those for the board's consideration. Again, as you heard earlier from Dean, the research is continued in terms of you know, going back and finding out a little bit more about the timeline of when this boardroom addition was constructed and its, you know, obvious significance with its ties to Mr. Kaufman. So, you know, with that as a background, right, we can talk through the 7 items that we have responded to, if the board would like to discuss any of those comments.
Do you want it?
I want to talk through the items where you're slightly at odds with what the ones where you're in congruence, I don't think we need to.
Sure, absolutely.
Ken, take the lead, I'm sorry, but I'm more interested in the differences than the similarities at this point.
Yeah.
Of course, the differences are ultimately up to us.
Right, but
I would say that
if they're suggesting something and you agree, and you agree.
Right, I mean, predominantly, you know, there's a lot of items where, we appreciate and see the merits of what was suggested, right? Using wood siding, to be consistent with what is on the existing building today rather than using fiber cement, siding. Again, we understand that, and wood siding is certainly an option. I think it's, again, an option, you know, it's something that the village board needs to take under consideration from a durability and maintenance, in the investment that you're making, is that the right long-term solution? Again, I'm not trying to discredit or anything, the one or the other. Again, I just think that is one that, as an example,
And that's one where we will have to discuss among ourselves and decide.
Yeah, it's, what I understand is it's probably a more more expensive upfront investment. It's a lower maintenance investment over time. And it, depending on which building, actually both buildings, you would suggest it's incongruent with historical.
Correct. Those are all correct.
Is it new wood siding that goes on the facade here, or is it refinishing, doing something with reviving the current wood siding? Because then it's not historical anymore, it's new wood, it's new cement board, right? Even though the aesthetics.
We've got an old bridge sitting back.
Well, I get it, we got a lot of wood, trust me. So is it new wood siding?
New wood siding,
It's all
yeah.
new wood siding?
Right.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
I have a question. So you're proposing all new wood siding and not retaining the siding that is extant, that is in good condition, so that I understand?
Well, I would venture to guess that when we got into surveying all of the existing wood siding, there would potentially be some areas that could be stored and maintained. And then it becomes a matter of cost and consistency. To have, 10% or 20% of the existing facade be existing wood, whereas due to project deterioration and significant other portions that need to be replaced, I think it becomes a matter of cost effectiveness. Down the road.
Matt, does it make sense to bid both sidings, types of sidings, to see what comes back, or something you really will need a decision before you go out to bid on?
I'm not sure what you're saying. I don't understand what you're saying about what percentage of what.
Sure. So the question was, on the existing portions of the building, not the addition, right, the existing portions of the building, the question was, are we proposing to replace all of the wood siding, or only replace the areas that are damaged, right, beyond repair?
The existing.
Of the existing site, correct, all existing sites. And my point was, let's say,
Let me ask you, of the siding being 100% right now, what percentage is not in good condition?
More than zero. Would that be accurate? More than zero? Okay.
yeah.
So I think it's safe to say that that was not analyzed because the plan was to replace everything with cement wood siding. And under that plan, whether something can be saved or not saved, or the condition is irrelevant. It only becomes relevant if we're talking about trying to save it.
One of the things that it does point out is that projects like this, which I can't imagine we'll ever do again, it needs to be inclusive rather than this narrow group of people making these decisions. These people should have been involved from the get-go, as should have the historical society from the get-go, and somebody cut them out. And it's too bad, because they have a wealth of knowledge and opinions, which I may or may not agree with, but I'd like to hear them.
I don't
And that's
agree
what
with
we're
you at all,
doing now.
I don't want to revisit history, but
No.
at some point, the question was asked and the answer was given to us in terms of how to proceed in terms of any historic
You
considerations.
got the wrong direction.
Well, it's just helpful to get all that info out
Cost
as
is
soon as
less.
possible. Whenever you
Just,
discuss it,
the only
you
question
read
is
it.
the maintenance cost.
Right.
Scratch that's different, so.
Art was just talking about sorry about, didn't mean to interrupt you, Bobby, but, he was just talking about how the cost of the wood is actually less. It's the ongoing maintenance that's greater.
Right.
Yeah, that's what you said too. Yeah, Art was just saying that to me, I was just repeating it, so.
Also forget the idea of having an alternate in the bid specs, because the prices.
Right, I mean, if price is what's going to be the basis of your decision, we can tell you upfront what the lower cost on day one.
Can I ask a dumb question about how does the cement board look compared to wood? Can you tell the difference?
That in that fancy picture thing?
The picture of the front porch was a cement board.
But I can't tell from a picture, versus,
So I can tell you My home in Long Grove has all wood siding, which by the way, has to be painted every 4 years. Southwest exposure, just like we have a southwest exposure here. We have a family home in the country which has cement board siding. We built a detached garage 15 years ago with cement board siding as well. Never had to touch it. We've owned that home for 18 years, never touched the cement board siding. 15-year-old garage, never touched the cement board siding. If you stand further than 2 or 3 feet away, you can't tell the difference. Yeah, if you go through it, you know, right there, and you analyze it, and you touch it, you can tell it's different. But if you're not looking for a difference, it looks very, very similar to wood siding.
We got a 140-year-old farmhouse in Michigan, and I've scraped and scraped and painted and painted and scraped and painted
Yeah.
and gave up. It's
tiring, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just, the cement board is, in my opinion, so much better in terms of maintenance.
I mean, look at our boards out here right now,
Yes.
what they look like. That's what they're gonna look like 5 years after we paint them.
I don't, you know, what Gene said notwithstanding, I mean, I'm slightly persuaded to try and keep the Drexel, the tavern wooded, but this one mystifies me, that's me.
All right, so the hybrid thing, how hard is that?
It's not hard, it's really doable, again.
So what I'll say is, from an historical and architectural standpoint, the recommendations are spot on. He's recommending the correct thing from that standpoint. I believe we also need to look at it from a functional standpoint and a longevity standpoint, and also the standpoint of, if you were renovating and adding onto your house, would you want 3 different materials on that building? Or would you want one uniform, new set of materials on that renovation that you're spending many hundreds of thousands of dollars on?
My own.
What really makes sense?
I have a log cabin, I will tell you, the maintenance stinks, and I am looking for lower maintenance, but that's me, and that's because I'm aging, but,
You gonna put cement board up?
no, but
Your
I've
log
got
cabin?
columns, I wanna replace wood columns with probably something that's like powdered metal or something
Got
like that, and we'll see how the village code deals with that.
Well, I think we have to consider. I have to. Go ahead. Environmentally, seems to me that where we're headed is scarier than where we've come from. And if we look at it from an environmental standpoint, it makes sense to me to not encourage more tree cutting by purchasing wood products. And what it takes to keep them looking nice, unlike the way it looks now. You know, we're talking about the scientists and a lot of communities, Waukegan is one of the most recent ones I read about, and they are actively going about the activity of planting trees all over the village because of what the scientists say we're headed into. So, you know, I would think that had the Hardyboard's just a manufacturer name, but had the cement board been available originally, they probably would have used it because that's what people use. And if you can't afford it, what we are using today, which is the cement board, from an environmental standpoint, to me, it seems like we should bow to that for that reason. You know, as well as the village hall being the headquarters of the town. You know, I mean, there's something to be said, you know, we've talked about the size of the manager's office, we've talked about all kinds of things with this building. Maybe it's not so bad that it represents today preservation of something from the past.
And I know I talk a lot, but I just really appreciate the way the two of you frame these as different pathways. Thank you both.
They're facets like a diamond, you know, they're all.
Exactly, they're all part of the whole,
Yeah.
All right, so are you looking, so I guess on 1 and 2, right, those 2 items here, are you looking for something from the board tonight.
They need to go to bed.
They need to go to bed, so do we need to take like a straw poll vote or something?
I think that might be the way to provide direction, there.
Should we do that on, it's basically this, one cement siding should not be used in the original structure, right?
Can we talk about these all together first? Because
Yeah.
don't they sort of go together?
Yeah, like the windows.
Not piece by piece?
I guess so, yeah, I mean, I guess, I just thought maybe we could touch on this, but if you want to.
Well, 1, 2, and 3 kind of go together, or?
All right, keep going then, and we'll come back. The next one is definitive break, delineation or demarcation should be used to connect the additional building while separating it from the historic structure, including the 1970s portion of the building. So, and I know we had a lot of discussion about snow and things like that too, right?
What's the thinking on that from the Architecture Commission? I'm trying to understand.
Well, yeah, Jean?
The thinking is that your eye would be tricked when if you're looking at the south facade of the current building with the current addition, you would not know where the historic building ends and the new building where the addition begins. It's just a practice to make some type of distinction, be it a setback. I mean, architects could talk about this as well, but either be it a setback or changing the roof line or something. So the two units are sympathetic with each other, and they reference each other, but it's noted that they are two distinct sections.
So it's solving for that goal of distinction yet compatible.
Correct. Compatible is
Okay.
the perfect word.
Okay.
Sympathetic, compatible, but yet distinctive, not in a fancy sense, but distinct. So a separation
Thank you.
of the two.
I appreciate, thank you.
Can I ask, and this isn't a good question, what was decided about the roof? Do we need a new roof, or do we have an old roof? Do we have a new roof already?
Well, I thought we had the old building has a new roof on it, but this building here would have to,
Well, again, this goes to the point that we were talking about just now with the delineation, right? So the portion,
No, this went back to the discussion we had at the last meeting.
Right, and it was
about when
determined-
was the new roof put on and how expensive was it?
a newer roof on this building that doesn't need to be. Continuity's sake, the plan was to replace the roof on this portion of the building. We're extending this portion of the all new and consistent. Thing was the thought that was behind replacing the siding, right? It wasn't that every piece of siding needed to be replaced. To be the continuity of it was all said and done, it looked like it was all.
And did we look at the cost of doing it that way, rather than being economical and using what is in good shape? Do we look at that cost? Because sometimes we look very, very carefully at little tiny costs, and sometimes we don't, and we look at big costs and just throw them away. So I'm just curious, if you looked at, is it this expensive in order to get everything new to be consistent, versus saving some and putting in partial.
Regarding the siding, yes, we did look at that. Regarding the windows, yes, we did look at that. Regarding the roof, no, we did not look at that specifically. From an aesthetic standpoint, it was something that we considered important to have that continuity. It's a very prominent view of the structure when you are coming onto the property. It would be.
But we still didn't look at it.
Of not replacing the roof, no.
But we did discuss this at the last meeting, because I remember
I asked
about it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, but it's part of part of the development of the design, we
Right.
didn't consider that.
Right, and I think, you appreciate what you have done. You have done what a lot of architects don't do. When homeowners add on, you know, sometimes you go past it or pull and drive it, oh, look, there's the original house, they added that on. A excellent architect your eye wouldn't see that, you know, it would all blend. And that's one of the telltale signs as well, like, they used they kept the old roof and they put a new one here kind of thing. It looks mishmash. So.
It was also
And
the Cedar
item number
Shake,
3 is avoiding that mishmash look.
Right, right.
it was also the Cedar Shake discussion too, right?
Also that, yeah.
Yeah.
So we would have to put, to keep it similar, we'd have to put Cedar Shakes in the new extension, so. And
More
then,
trees, environmentally,
well, that would make it look more similar, and that's what we talked about not doing, right?
Do you have any examples of buildings that show that demarcation?
Oh, for sure. It's not on me right now, but I could definitely use it.
Point one we could look at on Google Maps or no?
Um,
It wasn't a test.
Okay, I mean, I don't know if you can find it, but you could look for site elevation of the Joliet Public Library.
Joliet.
Signed by Daniel Burnham, there's very few libraries, 3, I think. In addition, was put on, I'm guessing, in the 80s or the 90s.
Sure,
Look under images, yeah, okay, that's the main entry. But you'll have to go to a street view and look along the side.
To go back,
yeah, where do you want me to go, though?
back on Google, and then shoot image up at the,
Images?
I mean, to me, that looks, it looks easily done because the arched windows.
So, Rita, that's the historic building. So that's the historic building. So if you could go to a street view where you could see the north or the south elevation, you'll be able to see it. The architect who designed the addition designed it to be seamless, and I'm not sure that would be allowed today, or not as a
I'm not seeing it come up.
project. Can you go to a map and go to street view?
Oh, okay, so you want me to go to Google Maps? Preview. What, not what I want.
No, go back to the.
I want to go to Google Maps, yeah. Just go to-
Sorry, it didn't send it. No, it's okay, okay. It looks exactly the same.
Oh, what Google Maps? I'm stuck here. So Joliet Public Library, Joliet? No, I want to get back to the regular Google Maps. I was in images and. Right. All right, let's see if it gets me there. Where is it on the map here?
to the right, keep going.
Right here.
There, that thing there.
Get closer. Yes. There's, right there. So we get the street view.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so that is, actually, that's the west elevation, which is new. Now, if you can get around to either the north or the south, south might be an alley, so you might go down there.
Which way is south here? Here?
Right. I don't know if you can get that.
Probably can't get around.
No, no, no. Take a look, yeah, go around to the north. Okay, there you go.
There you
So
go.
zoom out a little bit. So, here's a good example. So on the rear, it's the same, but here, it has that setback, and then it has.
You right here, you're talking?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if, can anyone online see this at all? Probably not, right? So,
And then it has that gable at the, the front facing gable that references but doesn't exactly match the historic gable. So you see the arched window up on the 3rd floor, it's slightly different,
you're talking up here, over here?
there's just little differences that make it distinct from the historic building.
So the historic piece is right here,
Correct,
and then this is the new piece?
correct.
Okay.
And on the south elevation, it's more, really more of the same, which is a little bit less, distinctive than this one. But this, I believe this was designed this way because this is a main elevation. It faces the street, not the alley. and it faces a prominent street. So this is obviously this is a much grander building. The building that we're in right now is a vernacular, building, but
Exhaustive efforts were made to make the new and the old match.
Yeah, why is, so you're talking about distinction, why is that important? Like, what is that, help me understand, what is that serving to have that distinction?
because it separates the historic building, separates the new building.
Okay.
They have rectangular windows where I would think they would have the eyebrow,
So it doesn't match.
really.
It doesn't match at all. It's distinct from it.
Okay.
But it looks like they are, like we're compatible.
Yeah.
It looks like it was originally a church, tavern.
Aren't they the same?
Depending what you're praying for, right?
Could I suggest that we back to the board a option that looked at creating some sort of delineation?
I think I don't know that we're asking for that yet.
Yeah, just hold that thought, so.
Not determined yet.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand what the ask is.
So it's, I just off the top of my head, I can't think of a vernacular building that has something like this. I only remember this, I wrote the house report for this building, so we spent a lot of time analyzing the historic building and the new addition and how they relate. And so, I mean, I could probably come up with one, I'm sure the architect can.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No,
I
I don't mind.
I appreciate the,
I don't mind discussing it
educational
at
help.
all. But, so anyway, so and this wasn't something that I necessarily brought up when we first had our initial discussion about it, but it was something that the commission brought up. And it doesn't have to be as big as that. I think what they were looking for was just a slight change with some.
Do you wanna hold that?
Really is that we have a number of facets, is that the one to dominate or not?
You wanna hold that thought for a second and come back to it? So, wanna just keep moving? So we have 7 items here. One of them we can cross off. While not proposed, vinyl siding should be avoided at all costs. That's off the list, right?
Right.
We're in agreement. All right, so now we're down to 6. All right, good. Vinyl windows are strongly discouraged. In particular, vinyl should not be used for the windows on the original structure.
So again, the merits of that are, I completely agree, right? The benefits of that are that you're, maintaining that historic character. I'm going to find a contemporary windows to match, what is in the building. Try very hard, but it will not, have the same, look. The existing windows can certainly be refurbished to, make them as like new as possible, but they will be as due to originally not the level of thermal resistance that they won't have insulated glass.
They'll still be drafty.
Well, they'll be less drafty, right? I mean, they will be refurbished, right? So they will be airtight, but, they won't perform as well as a wing. In the older portion of the building, certainly something that I think that needs to be strongly stated by the board as to what your values are in that. Again, I will point out, in addition, these have been replaced with vinyl windows already. So, maintaining these windows is the plan, and continuing that look.
It would be logically incongruent for us to say, don't keep these, but keep the roof. I would have trouble with that logic.
And the windows, like in that vestibule area there where the bathroom is, those are vinyl right there. They've been replaced, right?
Yeah, and
older vintage or potentially original windows.
We had, I'm sorry to interrupt, we had a window that actually fell, the old windows fell on somebody, they caught their arm in the window. I think it was probably
Oh, my goodness.
15 years ago, and they came after us for an insurance claim.
Yeah.
Something like that, it was pretty minor, but I think that was partly the impetus for getting rid of the old windows, and that speaks to the point that this is a public building after all, you know, we just want to make sure it's safe. I don't know what that means, but
City education.
yeah.
I know we've spoken many times about energy efficiency. The windows certainly are much more energy efficient. So it really comes back to the same question. Functional versus aesthetic. What's our priority?
With the slice of logical.
Right.
All right, so you want to move on, just hold that for a second, and we'll come back and go through them all. The window feature over the south elevation entry could be brought forward to provide further articulation along the facade. Returns on the eaves of this feature could match the 1970s portion of the building. These changes, with a taller roof on the addition, would provide a more complementary aesthetic, and then it goes on to another one. The window trim should be white instead of beige. So let's hold that one for a second. I know the roof line was a whole big discussion, right?
Yeah, so the roof line of where we tie into this boardroom portion of this building, we cannot go taller. We need to maintain the height or lower, right? The reason being, we don't want to create snow loading issues. The comment that is made there is actually, over the new entrance, to the boardroom addition, there's a glass window dormer feature. And what was being suggested was to pull that more forward and make it more prominent. Referencing some of the, tying in with some of the existing architecture. As we were going through the design process, again, just a little bit of background, was we were trying very hard to balance the attention called to the new entrance and the attention maintained on the existing entrance. 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, that is where the public is going to want to be able to navigate to. So we were trying to not create a situation where that was just an overpowering feature at the new entrance, that people consistently showed up and walked to that door only to realize, oh, I want to be here. So we were trying to keep a, maintain balance between those two. So again, we can certainly look at pulling that forward and creating a more prominent entrance, if that is more background on it was we were trying to maintain parallel importance of the two.
I think it's annoying when you tease people with the wrong entrance. Some personal things on it.
But the roof,
It's like when this became the main entrance, and the old entrance was no longer used. And it takes a while to train people to use an entrance. So, yeah, you're right, we shouldn't use them to the wrong place.
but the roof is purposely the same to prevent the snow buildup, right?
It is, back to that, if we were to try and create some delineation between existing. Again, we could keep the same roof levels, it could be some element of setback or protrusion or whatever that, again, broke the plane. Somehow on the roof, we would have to reconcile that without creating a snow loading.
And then the trim was the last one, right?
Yes. Our intent was, something slightly variation in color, but, being consistent and having the trim match the siding we agree with that.
Now we're down to 5.
Yeah, so that one's no issues on number 7, right, everyone's in agreement? Okay, down to 5. So how do you want to do this? So can we just go through the cement, the two, either cement fiber siding should be used for the original circa 1860 structure.
Isn't it really sort of a bit of a thought on compatible versus consistent? Yeah, complementary, consistent, you know, something that, what was designed was something that's far more seamless.
Right.
And from a historical perspective, all of these things are really of a philosophy of some level of distinction yet still compatible. And to me, isn't that really the one decision, or am I wrong?
Could you say that again?
It was designed so that the new addition would flow very seamlessly and not look visually like it's different than what it's connecting to, which is this building. And what is being proposed by the Architecture Commission and Jean is a little bit of a distinction. Not something that's, you know, dramatically, you know, Victorian versus Franklin Wright or whatever, but something that's a little bit of a
Are you
distinction.
talking number 3, or are you talking?
No, I'm talking a philosophy. that's
Overall
behind it.
philosophy.
Am I understanding that correctly? It's really, it's a distinction from a historical, but what was designed was something that's far more consistent, seamless, you know, so that your eye looks very different.
Okay, I think you're talking about number 3, but, yeah.
But,
And by answering the philosophical question, these questions, these 6 will answer themselves.
that's my proposal. Thank you. Thank you for understanding whatever I didn't say the right way.
So I would like to point out that the Drexler Tavern and this meeting hall building, so roughly 100 years apart when they were built. When this addition was designed, if you notice, and I probably should have showed that as the example of an addition, because there is a little bit of a bridge that connects those two buildings. Bob Coppin did not put this meeting hall building right up against the tavern. He did not make a seamless connection. He set back a little tiny one-story bridge. And there are different features on the front facade of this building that there are on the front facade of that building. There are little highlighters that are at the doors. They're double doors, not single doors. There are porches over there. There's no porch over here. They look, this whole complex, this whole municipal campus, which is what I've been talking about, it looks like one of those villages in New England where they join different buildings together. So a very quaint, a very charming look of distinctive buildings that are joined together, but you can see where they're different. You can see that this bridge connecting that building and this building separates the two visually. But viewed from afar, they're very compatible. That's what we were hoping for, something like that.
That opportunity maybe is a lost opportunity. Perhaps that should have been done in this room and the original building. You know, there's that little hall. I think at one point we talked about, like a breezeway, solar type breezeway connecting the new part to the old part, or maybe it was.
I'm getting more
the
confused.
The courtyard.
Isn't that what Jean said, this portion right here is,
Exactly.
that portion you're talking about was purposely done, is what she was saying. I don't know if you can see this.
It was designed with.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it on Google Maps, you can see it.
Yeah,
But what I'm saying is.
okay, yeah, if anyone wants it, yeah.
I don't know if you could duplicate that in a second.
They have to duplicate it. I'm just saying, that's an example
Right.
of two buildings that are distinctive, but they're complementary. They go together, but they're separated. So I'm not saying that needs to be duplicated over here, I'm not saying that at all. That's just an example of how you have a building and an addition, and you have them slightly separated somehow.
She's not micromanaging to exactly how. She's suggesting that there is a distinction.
There should be a distinction. Yes, no, I don't want to design this. The architects have done a great job of designing this. I would never step on their toes. I'm just saying, the commission has said that they believe that is something.
We're basically dealing with different criteria, right? The criteria that we had identified and designed to was make them tie together seamlessly. The criteria that is on the table now is, create some architectural definition between new and old.
and need to give you some direction. Yeah.
All right, so going back to philosophically, so 3, let's just start there. Does somebody want to, is everyone in agreement there should be a break between this building here and the new structure?
No.
Okay.
I agree or disagree, but I'm not in agreement.
So let me, Trustee Jamil, just want to make sure you're in the conversation. You're out today. Do you have an opinion? You're muted. You'll have to unmute, please. Sorry.
Yeah, Bill, I'm here. I was hearing, no comments.
No comments? Okay. Kent, let me just go around the horn. What do you want? A break, or, because we can have somebody architect that, or do you want to?
Uniform design as it's already been designed.
Okay. Rita?
I agree with Kent.
Okay.
I have a question, as usual.
Okay.
In your mind at this time, to create a demarcation, is it, aesthetically pleasing? Is that small deal, medium deal, big deal?
I certainly think it can be done, right? It's time to generate some ideas and impact the review, but if that were the intent of the board is to a distinction, then it can be done, one candidate.
Well, sure, with enough time and money, you can do anything.
So, yeah, the memo says minimum of 4 weeks in additional compensation. There's the time and the cost.
To my eye, and with all due respect to Bob Coffin, this building has never looked good to me. I didn't know it before this edition, you know, maybe more landscaping would have, to my eye, made it look a little more attractive. The building in Joliet is beautiful. You know, they had a lot of money to work with, a lot of energy. I would like the historical aspect preserved, but I'm torn, so I'm gonna say at this time, because we're so far down the road, unless it's a quick kind of whatever, I'll go with what we've.
Bobby?
I agree. I've always thought that this building looks like an afterthought. I never thought it never had a feeling of belonging. And I think it's unfortunate that these ideas were not brought forward at an appropriate time, that it's too late in the process now to address them. And so, though I'd like to address them, I won't, because it's too late in the process.
Okay, so everyone's kind of stacked hands on, let's not look at a break, correct? There's no,
That's what I would, Chris, you're mowing.
I am mulling, I guess there's a lot that's been discussed here tonight. So that's the front view, this view or that view actually, right? But from the front view.
That corner is that one.
I understand, no, I'm not disoriented, I got it. What I was trying to make the point is that from that view looking in, we have a pretty good distinction on the historic building. I'm still not sure what the historic value of this building is in that regard. From that perspective is one issue, right, the break. But if you look at the back of the building, and you're looking at the back of the building, you certainly can tell the differences in the buildings, right? Because the new addition's running that way, and this facade gets redone, but you basically see the definition of the buildings, right? So if somebody really wanted to go, hey, where's the historic building? All I gotta do is walk around the corner and look, and you can see that. Am I not interpreting this correctly, or did I get it all wrong? I just thought if you just walk around, you see that, you see the breezeway, you see this, and then the new building's running kind of that way, isn't it? Along this wall, so from that viewpoint, I think you see that, don't you? You just don't see it as
Well,
you
and that's
pull
still
up.
the main 9 to 5 front.
Right, right. Did I get that wrong, or am I missing the point?
Gene's point, and I agree, is that this facade specifically along the parking lot,
Yeah.
in the current plan, would be extended, so there would be potential visual confusion. You see these 3 windows, and then you see 3 more, all on the same plane, all on the same siding, all on the same roofing, so that facade would be hard to determine what was here before and what wasn't.
But just from that facade, but from all the other views.
From all the other facades?
You see it pretty clearly, right? Okay, thank you, thanks for that clarification, I just trying to think through that.
And so your answer is?
My answer is I like the uniformity of the front being consistent, or the parking lot view being consistent.
Okay.
I don't need a break from that perspective, because then I gotta walk around the side and go, oh, there it is, if I really wanted to. Yeah, I'm more troubled with the contemplation of tearing all the wood siding off of this thing and going, well, we're putting new stuff on. I'm still kind of torn with that. I guess I never really thought about it until this particular discussion of the last few weeks.
Well, then,
Big historic building, you never put wood off that. I don't know, does it matter? I mean, you can redo all the drywall, what's kind of left? What's historic about it?
all right, so then let's just do one. One is,
Sorry.
3 is a no, right?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
3's a no, yes. So the, cement fiberboard, right? So, number 1 was, do you replace in the old 1860s circa building, do you replace that wood, or do you just repair it? And then the second part is, do you replace it with cement board, but the second part is, do we, use wood, keep this wood and put wood all the way down there versus cement board, so.
No one is suggesting you put wood on the addition.
No?
That was never suggested, our special commission did not propose that.
Okay,
That absolutely could be made of glass.
okay.
It'd be fabulous, made of glass.
All right.
Frankly.
So, but just keeping on this part of it, the wood, okay.
Right, just building,
All right.
meeting hall building and the other one.
So I guess go around, let's start over here,
Cement board everywhere.
all right?
Why would we do that?
Do what?
Why would we keep wood here and board on the rest?
So if you wanted to keep the historic wood,
Oh,
in place, maintain it,
we didn't keep the historic wood on the bird.
no, the box truck took care of it.
But it's at the well. Right, yeah, I'm with the cement board.
All right, we'll go, whoever wants to go next,
I like the combination, the wood and the.
you like the combination, so you would keep the wood over on the old building, and then cement board on the new part?
Yes.
What about on this side here?
Okay.
You don't care, okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Getting a late because.
I know it is. Chris?
Is the Historical Society opined on that?
I don't think so.
It's kind of new to me, so it's the architectural commission.
We have a schedule to meet though too, so.
I understand, but.
Yeah, yours is a good.
I lived with a previous president of that society, I'll have you know, so, by the way.
It'd be nice to leave the wood on the Drexel Tavern because it is historical.
Is proposing that the building we're sitting in is also historic. And I think that's bending people's minds right now, James.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't tell, but pretty much everybody, looking around, maybe except for you, everybody in this building would be considered historic.
Fair. Oh, fair.
50 years is the.
It is 50 years unless there's a special.
Is the hardy board all the same from an architectural perspective? Do you put like smaller lap on the front side of it versus this facade of it, or does that break up the, I'm not an architect, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm just trying to figure out a way to say, look, here's a historic building, but oh, by the way, we haven't drywalled over everything, we haven't replaced all the HVAC, we got all the wiring, and oh, by the way, we tore the siding off it, we put cement board up. Okay, what's left? Oh, the historic building.
I'm with Bobby, just so you know.
When you take the wood, you're gonna have to match.
So basically keep the wood,
Keep the wood there, keep that cement board, and I don't care about this, honestly, like, I mean, that sounds ridiculous.
okay.
Maybe
All right.
that sounds flippant, but I don't.
So
need
we'll
to-
come back to Chris.
That's how I-
Dr. Jamil, do you have an opinion? Trustee Jamil? Nope, no, okay, all right.
Whenever we talk about the historic nature of our village, it's good to keep in mind that most of the buildings downtown are either vinyl or aluminum. You know, they lost their wood siding a long time ago.
So Chris, what's your opinion?
Hardy board.
The whole thing?
Yep.
All right, well, that's fine. I'm okay with keeping the Drexler Tavern wood, and, you know, however you figure out how to move it around the side here, but
Trustee Jamil gonna weigh in, or?
We're tied. 3-3.
Are we tight?
Yeah.
I lost count an hour and a half.
yeah, so cement board,
I'm hearing a big neutral, which means to me, that's why.
Would that be two different materials on the same side then? Because this is extended.
No, it's. What you're hearing Ann and Bobby
What I heard
say
was
is
we
this facade can be cement board.
Yeah.
But buying in for retaining wood and maintenance for the 1860s tavern.
On the breeze over there, that would be me.
What about in front of this part of the building? They're on the same side, but most of it will be wood and a little bit of it will be cement potentially.
That relief of the
side.
breezeway that'll.
Yeah.
So that whole side would be wood.
No.
No, he's saying make it cement board
Okay.
on the Village Hall chamber, and the breezeway, if you wanna call it that, is the demarcation point, right, for the wood.
I would think of the building as three different mats. You got the Drexler Tavern, you've got the Parker Coffin addition here. So ideally, you wanna go per mat, but this building as a mat would get recladded. That breezeway could remain and then, or be recladded. Drexler Tavern is its own, I would say. What I'm hearing.
Could you take wood from here to use it over there to repair things?
Why?
So it's the historic wood, I don't know.
That's more historic than this.
I don't know how many, did you see the picture of that thing when it was moved over?
Semi-historic.
I don't know how many boards are new. Yeah, pass it down, yeah.
My granddad's axe.
All right, so do we, how do we move this along? Because
I think we've already agreed that we're not sending them back to the drawing board on reconfiguring roofs and entrances. So from a design standpoint, we're static. It's a materials question.
yeah, right now, yeah, so is everyone okay with cement board for this whole chamber in the whole new building? Are you good with that? Would you be good with that? I'm good with that. Would you be good with that? Would you support me on that?
They both,
I agree that this should all be cement board.
Okay.
I'm not happy about the Drexler Tavern.
Would you be good with that?
I don't like mishmash. I would, if you're gonna do it, just do the whole thing. It ages differently, the paint fades differently. I don't care.
Joe, okay, so you would go along with this. Trustee Jamil?
Yeah,
Would you go along with us?
yes.
The answer is yes. All right, so we have direction. You okay with that before anyone changes their mind? All right, so,
no, I'm more interested in the electrical inside, so.
all right, so then, what do we do with the windows, right? So that's, we have the vinyl windows.
And what was just decided?
Yes.
Okay. Want to make sure.
Yeah, so we have vinyl windows are strongly discouraged. In particular, vinyl should not be used for the windows in the original building. What's the recommendation there?
Do we have to replace any of the windows in the original building?
Have to.
Okay,
Should.
okay.
They should, at a minimum, they should be refurbished. I mean, I would recommend refurbishing these.
And that won't cost any more, or?
Should not cost any more.
Probably a rounding error.
It's not, it's gonna move the needle significantly overall.
Refurbished?
So in your home, if you were needing to replace or do something with your windows, you were told that for about the same price, you could get new energy efficient windows or fix up your existing ones, but they'll still be cold, which way would you go?
I'd get wood ones that are new.
Rest my case.
I wouldn't get vinyl, I'd get wood ones that are new.
I have no opinion about wood versus vinyl, but I believe they should be new.
All right, new windows, new windows, new windows,
Public building, you want employees safe and comfortable.
new windows.
And then why are we sitting in this room that's so bright and cold?
I have no idea.
Just asking.
I just learned to dress in 3 layers.
All right, trustee Jamil, you okay with new windows?
Yes.
All right, yes. All right, and then, all right, so you have the direction, new windows, unless somebody, and then the new feature over the south elevation could be brought forward. I think that,
We said no.
we said no, right? Everyone okay with that?
Say that again?
So they were, basically, the window, there was gonna be, if you have a picture of it,
Oh,
this, here, this,
It's what you said.
this thing right here, right? This is what you were, was make this bigger, right? And more prominent. Can you see that?
Yeah.
I have I'm fearful functionally that
This
that
window.
leads people into the wrong entrance, 9 to 5. I understand how do we make this, but I really think that as a public building, we need to make sure that people understand how it's used. It should not take a lot of brain cells to say, how do I use the building?
those signs work so well.
But what,
I pay attention to them.
but they're gonna park here.
I understand.
Like, do not hit the bridge.
Right.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You knew what I meant.
I don't care, whatever the architect says, I'm good with.
All right, so you're good with what the plans were?
Yeah.
You're good?
On the theory that,
With having it the way the plans were drawn, no changes to this? Okay,
No change.
no change?
I like it the way it is.
No, Dr. Jamil, are you good with no change to this?
Yes, yes.
It's a nice way to put light in there, natural light.
Well, there was, no, but Jean was saying make it bigger.
Not really, not really.
Not really, but just more,
differentiate.
more? Okay. All right. So I think you have direction. I believe you do.
Now, can we ask some questions on different issues? or no?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, a couple of quick issues. So towards that entrance as well, should we put a car barrier so nobody drives their car right through that entrance? I'm serious.
A ballard?
I'm dead
A
serious.
ballard, yeah.
I mean, should we put like a pillar or something there just to break, something that's.
Right next to you, probably good.
Yeah, so somebody isn't backing you, no.
Won't affect the bid on, won't affect the
So
bid
that
at
was
all.
my one question I had on that. On the inside, well, a couple other different things, but on the inside, I was trying to look at the electrical outlets and the layouts in the village hall, in the hall section of it. I did see the in-floor electrical outlets towards the tables in front. I didn't see electrical outlets scattered around throughout the room, in case we ever had to reconfigure the room for like a workshop, as an example, where we had tables kind of butted against each other and spread out. Should we put more electrical outlets in the floor besides the ones around the head of the table?
I was more concerned on the idea that we talked about having the ability to do PCs and control what's on screen
Right.
from the board, from staff, and from a presenter. And so
Yeah,
I just
right.
wanted to be confident that the the infrastructure to support that is there.
I agree with you, the Sikich, Tom from Sikich had that problem tonight, there's no presenter stand, there's nothing for him to plug his computer into, get electricity, so I don't know if that's been
Do you want
contemplated or.
to comment? Because we met,
Yeah, so,
because I was concerned about that.
the audio-visual integration piece of this has been trailing a little bit.
Okay.
But we have been advancing that design. We met with, Bill last week and actually got some details on that, so.
Does that address what I just said?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah, so there's, the thing is, but there's some really good points here about, this is a slab floor. So you have like one chance to put the piping in, right? So to your point of making sure there's extra outlets, and that's what I was concerned about, like, over there, right now, there's a control panel that would allow you to go back and forth to control the monitor, but it costs more money. So we wouldn't put that in day one, because you could still present from Zoom wirelessly anywhere, right? Up on the monitor, if you're logged into Zoom. But at least you have the conduit there, so if you wanted to add it later, you could. Plus an extra camera, they're gonna have a camera on the back, but we may want a second camera, so make sure there's conduit there for a second camera on the wall too. So that's the kind of stuff that we were talking about. We didn't talk about electrical though, which was, should there be more stuff on the floor, right? Does that make sense? I don't know, you know?
The bathrooms were sort of identified on the drawings as gendered, but I thought they were gonna be non-gendered.
They are non-gendered.
Well, there was a note on somewhere, it's like, this is the ladies' room, and let's make sure there's a shelf. Well, that was the one I got to review, so.
I wonder if it's maybe when you came back, because this was taken off quite some time ago. But regardless, by law, they need to be non-gendered, and that's.
Well, and everything you do in one, please, let's do it in both.
Same question on the AV for like ceiling pickup microphones and all that, because you've been in big conference rooms where you have microphones scattered around, pick up comment properly. I mean, Zoom call's gonna be around, if you guys talk about stuff like.
They were gonna put the microphones on the tables.
How about like pick up for public?
Yeah.
There would be a handheld microphone that could be passed around.
What about?
I mean, usually when you have public comment, you have somebody come forward.
To the podium.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be just this setting, it could be a different room that, HOA is using or something, it doesn't necessarily just have to be people presenting to us. It's gonna be a space that other people.
We could also invest in owls if we want to, you know, that are just gonna really like turn.
Well, so
Those rooms are a little more intimate inside, you may not need that, you know, like the.
My point is, has, or will, or did, somebody looking at the AV side of this figure it out?
Somebody who does this,
Right, somebody knows what they're talking about.
somebody get them in early, because one of the things when you're on Zoom, if somebody's over there talking, you cannot hear
You
them.
can't hear 'em, yeah.
So address that in the beginning, and see if we can.
No, I think that's a good point, is how do you mic up the whole room, so we didn't talk about that, so.
I think
Get a pro.
we should be asking.
No, we have a pro, he has an expert, so.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we talked about from the beginning, that all of us, as well as people from the audience who were speaking, needed to very clearly.
Right.
So that was one of the
Actually,
things from the beginning.
Which you guys may be surprised I bring up, but if we're tearing the place up and digging, should we be digging and putting electrical trenching in for a charging station?
Yeah, we should.
That's a good point.
You know, that is a surprise.
We talked about it for the dental.
Should that be a, head, or is that?
Funny.
Well, that may be a different issue, I get it, that might be a different.
It's probably a question of upsizing your electrical services.
Yeah.
So, it has a more significant infrastructure cost in terms of. Come in.
But again, that's the kind of thing, if we plan for it now, it's probably less expensive to do it once than twice.
Yeah. All right, so you have an AV guy, right? So just the comment about how can you be heard throughout the room, how does that get addressed, right? That needs to be thought through, either initially or plan for it for the future, right? So you have the stuff in place. Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
What'd you say, Bobby?
Not,
Not,
that we didn't.
that we didn't, right?
That we planned for it, but wasn't done.
Correct, yeah, that we need to plan for it, right? So, yeah.
Is it possible that, like at the Denver over that parking area, that those with power, EV hookups?
Even though,
Germany just put one of those in and it's run 85% off diesel engines.
oh.
I'm sorry, I digress.
What did they put in?
You know what, I'm not sure about, Rita, I just saw an article that they announced they put in this big, huge public parking lot and the generator's around the corner.
What happened with our generator?
What about security cameras?
Well, no, we're,
Yeah, Chris, you told me about that in the parking lot at the last meeting. We brought it to our next meeting, and we talked about doing the pre-wiring for security camera.
Yeah, I think we
the,
should add.
the generator, we're gonna have the option to put it in, right? Is what we're gonna
We
have.
discussed the bid up.
Yeah, Bobby just asked that, yeah. Yeah, it'll be part of it.
Would the e-charging station be part of the parking lot when it gets redone, or would that be part of the village hall?
Well, you would want to put some portions of it in as part of the village hall.
Stations themselves can be leased, so that as technology moves up, the lessor places instead of the.
But the infrastructure to connect up to the grid would
Right
be
side.
something we do.
Right.
Right side in your electrical service, putting in the conduits out to those like points.
Okay, are we at a stopping point here? Because we do need to, I think, go into executive.
Another 20 minutes.
I don't want to.
This will go quickly, the paid leave ordinance.
Oh, okay, that's right, we do have one more item on the agenda,
But
so,
we should ask, is there anything else we left out that you need to?
yeah.
No, we appreciate the comments that we have received and the conversation tonight, so we'll.
Vic, you want to set the paid leave absence up?
Sure.
So I don't get ourselves in trouble.
Can I say something? I appreciate your demeanor and keeping the blood pressure low, thank you.
What do you mean, he hit my car when he backed out of here?
Are you kidding? He came in looking like a basset hound, he was so driven.
There was an add-on in the.
All right, so the next, item is the paid leave ordinance, and I'm gonna ask Vic to set that up.
Sure. At the end of the last General Assembly session, the state legislature passed a paid leave law, which requires a number of things in terms of both the amount of paid leave that all employees must have, how it must be calculated, and I think among the most significant concerns is that it said that employees can take paid leave whenever they wish, they don't have to get permission, and they don't have to have a reason, they can just take it, with some minor limitations. The law does provide that if a municipality were to adopt an ordinance before January 1 of '24, then that ordinance would govern rather than this new law. But it has to have some requirement for paid leave. Before you tonight is an ordinance that has some requirement, paid leave, but it essentially, puts our paid leave standards in our personnel manual. So we're proposing that you consider this ordinance so that we will have checked the box of not being subject to the new law without changing any of our existing policies. Doesn't prevent you from changing policies in the future, except we would not be changing this particular provision of the village code.
It looks like it's like the minimum breadcrumb is needed to establish a policy.
That is a good way of putting it.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
to maintain compliance.
Yeah.
But we have sick pay.
Yeah, we have all that stuff in our personnel policy. We have
It's not like,
vacation leave, we have bereavement leave, we have sick leave, we have,
yeah.
we have policies that will, I think, which are attractive to most any employee. But, we also have rules as to how it's going to be used.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And so, like, for example, sick leave, we have the ability to say, well, you have to provide us with a physician's note to demonstrate that you in fact were sick and you weren't just taking the day off to go to the Cubs game. The new leave
In practice,
would allow you just to go to the Cubs game and you wouldn't have to get the note. So, the whole point is to maintain our status quo
Yeah.
while still checking the box on the new statute.
That's what I was gonna say.
So we'll do all the right
Legal
things
box.
to protect our employees, keep employees and everything else like that,
It's not
but
meant
me,
to abuse any employee employee or
Correct.
anything like that.
But just so that we have the freedom to do what we need to do.
And probably the freedom to require better communications too.
Yeah. So anyone want to make a motion to approve?
Yes.
Moved by trustee Kritzmeyer,
Second?
second by trustee Tanucci. Roll call, please.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski. Trustee Jamil.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor. Trustee O'Reilly.
All right, motion carried. I would now like village manager's report, anything?
Any questions, just give me a holler tomorrow.
I would like to, have a motion to go into executive session for personnel matters.
May I make one comment, please?
Yes.
In my report?
Oh, sorry, yep, I skipped your report, sorry.
Some of you may or may not know, but, the chair of SWACO, Glenn Ryback, who's also the mayor of Wadsworth, passed away suddenly a week ago Sunday. It's, it's really unfortunate because you think about a gentleman with just a big, gregarious personality, and professional, and just really nice, pleasant man, and, it was a sudden death, and, just, condolences to his family and also the people in SWACO, staff who work with him on a very regular basis, and of course, the residents of Wadsworth.
Did we send something?
Yes, we sent flowers.
We sent flowers to him.
To the church.
Thank you. That's it.
Hey, so, I did skip the reports. Does anyone else have a report? Because I was gonna try to keep us moving. It's 9 o'clock. All right, so we're looking for a motion to go into executive session. Moved by trustee O'Reilly. Second by trustee O'Connor, and that's for personnel matters only, so. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor. Trustee Borowski. Trustee Jamil.
Here.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Yes.
No. Okay.
Trustee.
I need a minute to grab my stuff upstairs. I need a minute to grab my stuff upstairs. Okay, can you stand by? It shouldn't be a long call. We're gonna have,
It's all good though, anyway.
HR Govern here with us. And Dana, will you shut that PC down?
Say that again?
Will you shut that PC down?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard about my granddad's axe.
No.
I had this axe, granddad's axe. And I'm like, yeah, he replaced the head. I replaced the handle. My daughter added tape, but it's my granddad's axe.
Okay.
Well, that's kind of the, as I was hearing the conversation. Oh, I was thinking it,
Did you what?
sort of like the song, I'm not grandpa.
Justice Winter Cullen Saturday, United Methodist Church was here.
probably, right?
Yeah.
I hope Jean was okay. I appreciated learning what she was sharing.
Absolutely, that was good information. Yeah, Matt is very inoffensive.
Okay, I think I've successfully done this. Okay, so we should be good, all right. We all here? I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by trustee O'Connor, seconded by trustee Kritzmeyer. Voice call. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Meeting adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.